I'm Magenta, and I'm going to be your host today for this Campaigns and Conquests Arts and Crafts edition. And Storm is joining me as well. Say hi, Storm.
Hello, folks.
I'm glad you guys could join us today. We're going to do something a little bit different. This time we're still going to be talking about gaming stuff, of course, but we're going to be talking about the accessories, all the stuff you can use with your game. And I'm going to be doing some needle felting in the background, which is a craft you can use to make accessories. This right here is little superhero I'm needle felting for my grandson. Um, but you can needle felt other things too. This craft can be used to make, let's see, Velociraptor. He's in progress, by the way. He's not yet done. Um, or it could also make, trees for terrain or hills, valleys, things you can. Yeah, I've often thought it would be really cool to make a whole set this way, right? Storm and I have talked about this in the past because you can get regular felt like you do for gaming, the green felt. And then you can get with the needle felting and a little bit of Velcro dots, you could make removable, configurable terrain, hills, you know what I'm talking about, Storm, right?
hmm Yeah, like terrain for miniature games.
Right.
hmm
Right. So you need to add a desert or a lake or something like that. Obviously, you can use regular felt and just attach it, but you could also make three-dimensional stuff like, a hill covered in trees or something like that. You can get really super detailed with needle felting. So, anyway,
hmm
so Storm's gonna. You've got something I think you wanted to talk about, right? So I'll let
Go
you
ahead.
start that off while I needle felt. Hmm?
Um, that's okay. Got anything else you want to show off?
This really fine booty I gave this guy. Look, isn't that cute? He's got a cute little booty. See? Anyway, this guy is a superhero for my grandson who has decided to name him. Um, his superhero name is Bob Got a Job. He made it up. I guess it's heroic to have a job. So Bob is a hero for that. Um, and we kind of went through some things too. This is helpful. I was using this with him to kind of ask some questions so he could create a story around his character. But anyway, this is a book about fantasy character creator. I got it off of TikTok. It has some questions that would prompt you to kind of flesh out your character a little more. I haven't really gotten too deep into it yet, but it could be useful for authors as well, as for role playing to kind of make your characters more interesting. So if you're interested in that, you can take a look and see if it's something you want to try out. But my grandson's answer to this guy's story was he's Bob got a job and he can fly. He's super strong, and that's really kind of all we know about him at this point. Oh, and he rides a velociraptor.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
hmm So if he
Um,
was your superhero character, what would you name him?
uh, Bob, get a job. Well, sounds pretty
No,
good.
he
Um,
no. He's Bob got a job.
oh,
That's why he's heroic. He already got a
yeah,
job.
I see. There's no. Okay. Yep, that could be a good one. I think I'd give him Al because I'm
Al.
so original. It's the best I can come up with on short notice.
Al.
Yeah,
Like
Al and his Velociraptor, whose name is Val.
Val. Al and Val.
Yeah,
Oh, that could be interesting. Okay.
yep.
Well, Bob got a job here. He's fully articulated. I mean, you can move him
Easy for
around.
you to
He
say.
can, yeah,
He's
right?
more articulated than you are.
Yeah,
Ah.
they're very close. And he is flipping you off right now. You can't tell because I haven't finished his hand, but that's what's going on here. And he's a little bit like, really, really, dude.
Right in front of my velociraptor.
Yeah. Who, lucky for you, doesn't have teeth yet, or you'd
Right.
be in real trouble. His claws are also just little buds at this point, so we're gonna have to fix that. But he can ride on here.
I don't know if you can see that. I'm
Oh
sharing.
yeah, let me show that on the screen here. Hold on.
That's a example of needle felted terrain.
Yes. So you can do things like that. Needle felting is kind of like sculpting with clouds. You know, you start off with some wool. Hopefully, you don't leave your wool on your desk and get pieces of whatever this is in it. I'm not sure. It looks like a little leaf particle or something. That happens sometimes, that comes with the wool, you know, because it started off on the back of a sheep somewhere. So,
And no one knows where that sheep has been.
yeah. But I am grateful to this sheep for giving me some beautiful wool to work with. So, like, let's see, should Bob have any accessories? What kind of job does Bob have? Maybe he's a,
Red
oh,
stapler.
oh, he's got a red stapler. Okay. Oh, I think I can get some red wool. Let me see.
And a penny.
And a penny. He needs a pen. Okay. Red stapler and a penny. Bob's got a job at Initech?
That's right. In the basement office.
Are you sure he's still got a job?
Well, he's planning early retirement, I hear.
He's going to sit on the beach and drink margaritas?
That's right.
He's my kind of hero.
So, yeah, I am not one for. I'm just not good at it. Art. I appreciate it, and I respect people that, but I just don't. I try to. The first thing I painted were some miniatures, some tank miniatures, and I didn't know very much about it. Nor I guess one of the problems with me and painting stuff was I always approached it as a chore. I didn't really want to paint the stuff. I really wanted something I could open a package up and just start playing with as a war game thing. So I don't have much patience. So I didn't do a real good job on that stuff. But I thought maybe I had at first because people encourage me, try to make somebody feel good. So I took the stuff to a convention and people practically laughed me out of the place. It didn't look that great, but so I've never been big into that. I try as hard as I can. Uh, when it came to terrain, now I don't want to sound like I'm playing a fiddle for myself, but I didn't have a lot of money, and I would use things. My creativity came from what can I use instead of spending money that
Right.
that might work because I'm never gonna. So I would use Lincoln logs, and a lot of when I would make a city for a miniatures game. Back in years ago, a lot of the miniatures came in plastic cases that looked like the kind of thing you get at a jewelry arts and crafts store that you would store beads in. They were about 3 inches by 3 inches and had a little plastic clasp on them. And the miniatures would come in there. And after I pulled the miniatures out and put them together, they were square and rectangular shaped. So what I would do is I would just stack them up or glue them together to make like a 3-story office building, and then just spray paint them and try to make black squares all over or blue squares so it looked like it had windows and stuff like that. That was as good as I could get. Didn't look that great, um, but that was fine with that because me and Mr. Rogers, we were pals. I could use my imagination. So I now as fine as that was for me and my friends in my basement when I would go to some place where somebody had put together a terrain table that was filled with, like I saw one of, I think it was Nine Megan, which is for people who aren't familiar, that's a battlefield from World War II. Well, a lot of places are battlefields from a lot of different wars in Europe, but Nijmegen, it was a World War II thing. It was from the later stages of the Second World War, and the guy had set the battle occurred in fall, around Septemberish, and so he had all the leaves turning color and stuff. I
Oh,
mean,
that's so cool.
it was, and really pristine buildings, and made the thing was surveyed and made realistically, so all the rolling hills and everything looked great. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And there's nothing like playing on something like that. It's much more beautiful and creative and immersive and stuff like that. I I couldn't afford the material, and even if I could never develop it to that level of perfection. So it's fun, but so a lot of the stuff that I would talk about here, you play to your weakness or your strengths versus your weaknesses, um,
Right.
and so I would be making things like, maybe arts and crafts you might find this a stretch of the definition of that phraseology, but I like, for example, um, just earlier this week there was somebody complaining about using encumbrance,
Mm.
which okay, and I thought, all right, well, um, I Magenta came up with the idea of using a number line for modifiers once,
For all kinds of, yeah, anything that's going to be frequently changing, why not?
and it was, here's the way I looked at it. Um, Contrary to popular belief from a lot of people that may listen to me on other videos, I don't I'm not trying to be arrogant or whatever. And I thought, if I present a guy that's old enough to have an ARP card with a number line, they're going to be insulted.
Nah.
And because that's like saying, here, if you can't do that math, or don't, even if you just don't want to, then here's a little baby toy. Because I was presented with number lines when I was about 10
Yeah.
in school, in Publix. So to me, that's like saying, here you are, you idiot. You're a grown adult, but you still need a 10-year-old's, you know, that's the kind of thing that the elementary school teachers did to help
Right.
kids. So I felt it was being insulting. And apparently, no. So I was looking at ways of making something um, to help with encumbrance, which, and here it comes, and I don't mean to sound snotty, but it literally is how much. I mean, it's basic subtraction and addition.
Hmm. Here's the
There's
thing.
nothing complicated about it. So what do I do for people who are going, that's too much for the game or whatever the hell, but I want to, like, because the guy said this, he's like, it's a it's something that needs to be considered, but because it's a pain in the ass, it doesn't get considered. And I thought, well, here's what you need to do. You need to find a way that works So I I could give you some sort of spreadsheet or chart, but a lot of people balk at that as well. So what I'm looking to do is to use perhaps Magenta here, who has more artistic ability than I do, to make something thematic looking and cute that also works to facilitate this encumbrance in a way that is manageable to the mind of this individual in his gaming group. Like something like I was I haven't flushed out the idea, but just to get back to the arts part of this thing, finding um, or making a small drawstring purse, like the kind of thing you people buy to carry their dice in, but at a somewhat smaller scale, so they could sit at the table and not be too overwhelming to the rest of the table. My drawstring purse for dice is big enough to you could put a pound of dice in that bad boy. It was big. Um, so making that and some sort of hello, some sort of like and I don't know. Maybe Magenta has some ways of ideas on how to do this. I would think it would be something with wood and glue would be the way that I do it, but maybe there's a better, cheaper, easier way. But making little what looks like a pile of gear.
Okay.
Like maybe have like a little iron pick in it, and maybe a short sword, and a couple, a box
Right.
of rations or tinder box or something like that. And then instead of using the math or the addition of subtraction, here's how many of these things fit in your bag,
Yeah.
and they represent the point, something like that. And it would be neat and look cool because everything kind of looks like it's got that D&D or at least fantasy. I shouldn't just everything shouldn't be D&D, but that fantasy RPG thing where you can see, oh, that's a short sword and there's a couple of pieces
That's a
of
cool
gold in there.
idea.
And then some way for people to use that as a means of having encumbrance without um, apparently whatever's keeping them from it. And again, it's not meant to sound like I'm talking down to anybody, but that kind of thing never bothered me. I went and I just got a $2.50 calculator at Walgreens and just did the math and wrote it down. But how can we break it down so you don't have to do the math? Some other way. So those kinds of things. I didn't have again a lot of money, and so I got to the point where I'd be real frugal as to what I buy. As far as gaming stuff. Now, a Dungeon Master's gaming screen is essential,
Yeah.
but it's whatever it was at the time, $5. I don't remember. I always would be like, how many tanks or orc soldiers could I does this equate to? This is something that, yes, it's a gaming thing, but it's not the. I was primarily a miniatures player, and there's never enough room, never enough money, and never enough miniatures for the war games that were being played in the 70s and 80s. So I could increase the size of my army, or I could buy this boring thing that I'd have to read. But so I came up with ways of just making my own GM screen by using some cardboard and glue and photocopying the tables that I wanted and pasting them onto that cardboard that I glued together and made a trifold out of a piece of thin cardboard or construction paper that was maybe a little more flimsy, but it wasn't, whatever, $5 or $8 or whatever it was back then. I don't remember exactly, but it may sound cheap then, but it was fairly pricey in 1979. So stuff like that is my idea of arts and crafts because I can't draw a stick figure that looks. My stick figures look like they have scoliosis, and I can't draw a circle for eyes very well or anything like that. So I just never got good at that stuff. So that's my ideas of the arts and crafts we'll put here. Those are the kinds of accessories. Whereas Magenta's got a little bit more of a touch. She painted up a nice. And I'm sorry. Go ahead and interrupt me if I'm flapping my gums too long. But she's got a nice shelf full of what 8 or 10 miniatures now. She
Oh
started out.
yeah, I can break them out if you'd like to see them. They're
Yeah.
actually right here. Yeah, I did. There's about seven. I think I might have eight of them, but not all of them have been painted yet. My grandkids have gotten interested in it, so they're wanting to paint stuff now too, which is fun because it can become a family thing, for anybody who wants to actually spend time with their family. Um, there are people I hear like that. But anyway, besides me, I do love spending time with my grandkids. But anyway, just a little joke there. Let's see what we got here. So this right here is one of them that I did. I don't know if you can. There you go. Trying to get the feel for the camera angle right, but yeah, there's one. We got this was one that my grandson started doing. He's decided that this dragon should be pink with a purple skirt. I don't know. This one is
That's really great. Now that's the first, if I recall
this.
correctly, that's the first
This
one you ever
is
did.
this is the first thing I
This is
ever
the
painted.
first
Yes.
miniatures you ever painted. I
Oh,
used
is that
I
good?
used
Really?
enamel paint on my tanks because I was a dumbass, and you should see how the splotches and stuff. So this is
Oh,
this is outstanding. Never done it before, and you got that.
oh, I'm glad you
This was
like
really
it.
great. So um,
And this is Archer,
yeah, yeah.
and
He's got
okay,
he's got a kind of a link thing going on there.
yeah,
Little Zelda looking
those are
color
the colors I
coordination.
picked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rogue, of course,
Hmm.
sneaking around all stealthy like.
Hmm.
And of course, this one now, my cat got a hold of this
Uh
one
oh.
and ripped his arm off, so his hammer is missing. I have to find it, but
Yeah.
otherwise,
Yeah, cats are the bane of wargaming. I've had many of issues like that too. So,
I gave him a little blue. I went kind of Hindu here and made his god emblem blue. Well, they,
sure.
I think it's Vishnu that was blue. I'm not an expert, but I did read about some things once. Anyway, and then I've got this. You left this.
Yeah, that's an old 40K orc. Yep.
Yeah. And if you want, we can he can be a painting project if you'd like.
Sure. That's the kind of stuff I'd look at. I'd be like, how many of those could I buy as opposed to investing in another
It's
uh,
pretty cool.
magazine subscription. And the stuff in magazines were great, and I did get a hold of those sort of things. But when you have a limited budget, where your priorities, so um, and on top of that, a lack of patience, which isn't
Mm,
a positive thing, but it's the reality. I wasn't always, but I'd get easily frustrating, so what happened was when it was great as time went on and I saw more and more things that came out that were pre-painted. There was miniature
oops.
D&D. There's D&D toys that could be easily, most people did use them for miniatures in the game, and they were pre-painted and all that. Nothing like being able just to rip that box open and let's go.
Yeah.
And so that was my passion
For
is
a
to.
lot of folks like the crafty part of it. And
That's right.
that's
That's right.
yeah.
But what ends up happening, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's where you want to be with it, that's completely up to you. But that was one of the reasons I found it as a chore and an obstacle because I wanted to be at the table playing. A lot of those people. This isn't by far everybody or anything like that, but you'll get a lot of people who end up that's all they do.
Yeah.
Even though they never played, they painted. And that was it. And I wanted to me, I was never one to want to spend money on something that sat on my credenza. I would
Right.
go into people's houses that were, fellow nerds, and they would have all this merch that was laying around. And they go, "You must not really be as into it as I am because you don't have all that." No, I am, but I have not evolved past 7, and I have to play with what I own. I don't want it to be a museum piece.
Yeah.
So,
Totally get it.
yeah. So,
I'm tangling this wool up here a little bit. The way this craft works with needle felting for anybody, this is a basic tutorial. Anybody interested in that? And I'm going to keep an eye on where we are on the stream here. I think we're at about how many minutes in? 20, about 25 minutes in. So this is where we're going to start the tutorials at about 25 minutes in. Um, So the way needle felting works is it relies on the structure of the wool. It's got these little barbs in it. And when you take this needle that has, and I don't know if we can ever get close enough to see that, but um, you can kind of see the little notches in it. Do you see right up at the top there? The, do they show up at
It
all?
is a little hard, but yeah,
Yeah,
the camera,
they're little backward notches. If you run your finger along it, you can feel it feels like scales. So those go in when you stab, and they tangle the wool, and then as the wool gets tangled, it starts off all fluffy, like a cloud. But the more you tangle it up and stab it, the more it takes. It like fixes the shape in place wherever you stab. And you just keep doing that eventually until you get firm, kind of like, I mean, this started out as soft as all of this. So you can see he's kind of, he's dense and solid. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making a little platform for all my heroes to stand on. It's going to be a hill, uh, and then I'll make a little terrain around it. We'll cover it with some of the colors, some greens and browns, and see if I can make something that looks like a play area for them that could be on a map somewhere someday. Who knows? I'm just messing around. This is the great thing about needle feeding. You can just mess around with it, see what happens,
hmm
and just be completely creative. But anyway, go ahead with what you were saying.
No, I pretty much summed it up. I just that was my stuff. We'll kind of trade on and off, or mix up these things, or have a little bit of each on
Ouch.
where I'll make some gaming type accessories. Not that her stuff isn't gaming. I shouldn't say that because it makes it sound like a distinction. Where mine is more about facilitating mechanics or um, running the game. Whereas
I've
hers is more
always
about terrain and aesthetics and
now I can get
pieces.
into a little bit of like micromanagement of things too. I can get into that because,
Right.
like for instance, you were talking about the number line, and I've long wondered why GMs don't have abacuses. They're ideal. Just think about it. I mean, we use them in limited fashion for things like foosball, air hockey.
Yeah.
You just those little discs that you slide back and forth. You know, when the game starts over again, everybody starts at zero, and then as you get a goal, you move a piece over, and that's how you count. It's not because people can't count to five. We just do that because it's easier than having a little pad of paper like you do at mini golf where you have to write down your score and add it all up. Why do that with when you could just slide the little marker over and or slide it back and keep a running total. And if you get an abacus that has like 5 or 6 rows of discs,
Yeah.
that's enough for one for each player. Just pick a color, and then you could keep track of the hit points for your players by sliding the little abacus along.
There 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 used to be more of that,
Yeah.
and I don't know. What happened, unfortunately, is that there was people who assumed that if you had one of those, there's a weird thing. A lot of these uh, things like that help facilitate and a game, make it easier, and a lot of times, if you do it well um, and make it thematic, it really enhances the experience. One of the greatest ones I ever saw was a guy had made similar to cribbage. I know not everybody in the country, in America or everywhere, knows cribbage. It seems to be a very localized game for a lot of people, but cribbage was a game that was played with a deck of playing cards and a wooden table with pegs, and the pegs were advanced along a track. I don't know that much about the game. I tried to learn it once, and I when I was very young, and I couldn't do it. Um, but basically, you'd advance these pegs along a track based on the hands and you play or whatever. So what this fella had done is he had taken something similar and he had made a World War One biplane with instruments, but the instruments were because when you play these World War One games or any airplane game, altitude, speed, and stuff like that have
Do
to
you
be
have an
recorded.
image of any of those
I
that you're talking
unfortunately, you
about?
know what the
Then?
thing
Oh,
is, I'm a weirdo in a lot of
oh,
ways, and
okay,
I never walk I never walked around with a camera because I was so enamored with engagement in playing that the idea of
sure.
passively, but everybody go, how come you never took any? Everybody takes pictures, and a good point. And but I didn't do a lot of that. Another thing is, without getting terribly personal, there was a couple of hobbies that my dad had that were attempted to be handed down to me, and that should have been a good thing. But he was a little pushy. So, and I was a little bit of a,
You didn't want to get into that because it was his craft.
if you were making, well, I wasn't one for pressure. If I
Yeah,
would have discovered it on my own and said, hey, this is neat, I would have eaten it up with a spoon. But if you're trying to make me do it, or even push me in that direction, I'd end up being standoffish about it. So that's why I never brought a camera. So I don't have a picture of this. That's why I have to describe it. But it was really neat. And you had, so he had these things set up so they would mount to a table. And now this is, I mean, computers were around, but this was a long time ago, and there was no internet or anything like that. And probably early '80s, this
oh
was.
yeah.
And so he had these things set up, and they even had little pieces of the wing. So when you looked at the board, you were looking at it over the dashboard of the plane, or the you know. So it looked like you were inside the plane. It was the idea behind it, to a degree. It was very thematic, but it was just a very fancy way and a very easy way to track things that need to be tracked for that game. It made it go faster. It made it look cooler. It made it funner to play. And those were popular for a while, and then for some reason lots of people, when the internet came around, people started talking about this stuff, and you had this attitude that if it needs that, it's too much to play and handle, it must not be fun or interesting. We had an absolute ball playing that game, especially with those, not everybody had those wooden, that was a custom made thing, but that was cool, and there was a ton of that kind of neat stuff. And it didn't mean it was too hard of a game to play. It just made it a more interesting, fun, thematic, and convenient way to play the game.
See, now I'm the kind of person who's the opposite. The more gadgets you include with something, the more I like it. So if you gave me a game that came with a little one of those, remember those little counters they used to have? They were like red with the little buttons on top, and you would push them, and they would, people would use them to count attendance at like fairs and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Every
yeah.
time you go through, they'd click it, and that would
Sure.
say how many people were there.
Hmm.
And there were ways you could like reverse it too. It just depended on the ones. That would be a great way to handle the inventory or
Yeah.
the encumbrance. Everybody gets one of those, and you know
Hmm.
every you click in the amount of gold you have.
Excuse
Then
me.
you
I'm sorry.
that's yeah. Mute your mic if you got to do
It came
that.
up quick. I
Oh,
didn't have
I
a
hear
chance.
you.
I'm
No,
sorry.
it's okay. I get it. But anyway, use something like that as a accounting tool. Just different things like that. I mean, I know they've got like digital versions that I've seen on the virtual tabletops for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what's wrong with doing that in real life?
Yeah, it
And
was great.
sometimes a physical thing is more appealing for that than a
Yeah.
digital thing or a pad and paper or whatever. Some people are proud of the fact that they can remember stuff like that in their head, but um, I think it's kind of cool to have those tools too, because then other people have ways of keeping track too. So
Right.
it's not just because you're never going to remember what everybody's inventory is or any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think it would be handy for everybody to have stuff like that, and they're cheap enough to get things like that. Why not use them?
Yeah. There's different ways, but um, And so I'd like to see that kind of stuff come back. And
Yeah.
it was a joy. Now, some of I have seen uh, games. I forget the name of this. Twilight Imperium. They made a giant. Let me make sure I get that right. I believe it's Twilight Imperium, which is a. They made a giant version of this, giant board game version of it. Yes, it's like $110 or whatever. But uh, I saw an article on it, and they said the thing about these games. I said, why would anybody pay that kind of money? Um, they're very immersive. The game comes with all sorts of ways to keep track of things and markers and pieces, and everything is thematic. So that makes it immersive because even when you're moving um, a marker to count how many planets you own or whatever it is, the thing you're doing it
The
on
theme goes,
is
yeah.
right is representative of the theme or the genre of the game. It was like we played
Right.
Star Wars Risk, and when you kept track of something, it was a little Death Star model, and it looked like a digital readout on some Star Destroyer or whatever like that. That kind of thing is neat. Now, if it can help you play the game, or it can, then it's even better. You know, right?
Yeah. 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 And I mean, that's kind of where I got the idea from. I'm like, why not just do that for every time you're like, so if you have modifiers that apply just some of the time when you're playing a role playing game, like you're injured, so you've got to keep track of how many turns it's been since your injury occurred or how much healing you've done. If you've got a little, just simply a little line that shows, you got 4 wounds or whatever, you got an hour before this one comes off or whatever it is. You can keep track of it through your turns that way. Just move it each time. Um, I don't know. That's just a quick 2-second thing to do, and then you move on to the next thing.
Hmm. Right. Right. So that and instead of going to something like backer kit or whatever and going getting some plastics company or whatever to make these things with molds and all of the stuff that goes into that, the time, the money, the effort, and then you may or may not you know get to the marker you need to in order to make it, like that's like a crapshoot. If you don't get enough donations, then you don't get any or whatever, how that works. Just using a little ingenuity, the stuff around. Here's the best way to put it. And I know, again, I'm old and I use dated terms, but just MacGyver that stuff. It's
Mhm.
cheaper, it's more clever, and it doesn't have to look bad. You can make it look thematic if you just use a little imagination. And you don't have to have it cost a fortune or be some major, industrial effort
Right.
just to make a handful of stuff out of plastic, especially when people are trying to get away from plastic anyway. Here's a great example. Let's see if we can get this to show up on the shared.
Yeah, if you want to share your screen, let me know when you're ready. I'll try and bring it up for you. There we
Can you
go.
can you see
I
that?
see it. I do
Yeah.
see it.
So it's a counter made out of wood. Uh,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. D&D hit point counter, character tracker, Magic the Gathering life tracker. It has various uses depending on what you want to do with it. Those kinds of ideas are really neat. Um, these look like they are mass produced, which is fine, but they also look like they're. I don't know for sure, but it looks to me like that's made out of wood. So at least there's that. Uh, so, like I said, you should see more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just want to try to get into making that sort of stuff. So basically, what I've what I want to do is when I hear somebody say, "Well, I would do that, but," or "I would use that," like the guy with the encumbrance. Encumbrance is really important, all that stuff, but this it always gets set by the wayside for A, B, and C reasons. Okay,
I
well,
think number one
here you
reason.
go.
Would
Now,
you like to know the number one reason I think it's set aside?
uh,
Because if
okay.
you really implemented encumbrance, you'd have to leave some of that treasure behind.
Well, there's that. That's true. That's true. So, but what I found is a couple of things. There's people who bring that sort of stuff up because they're genuinely. I'd love to be able to use this more often, but this happens. Okay, now I have somebody who I could present this thing to and go, yeah, I might actually purchase that or whatever. Great. Or you got somebody who says that stuff and you hand them the solution to the problem that they've declared they have with it, and they're still, well, you know what? Then you have somebody that, and this is a problem we have in gaming that I've seen, is people who will not just go, yeah, I'm not into that. I don't like that. They have to invoke some deep, I've got all this gaming experience, critical, you know, 5 paragraphs of here's why this is a bad idea and a bad design, or here's why it doesn't, why it doesn't work or something. Everybody's got to be. It seems like that makes people think, well, this you must be a credentialed in the know type of expert because you're highly critical and you have all these reasons why and it
Oh, the
makes
wine snob effect.
right
That's
exactly
what I like
that
to call that.
exactly that.
Yeah.
So
No
you
wine is ever as good as that Chateau whatever from 1845. I don't
right
know.
right and it's just so you have two things. More importantly, you have something that's cool, and if people like it, they'll use it, and that contributes to the community and makes everything look more magic. Because that was the neat part about stuff in the past, is there was a lot of that because there wasn't a lot of product being made by a lot of companies, and there was a lot of people that were into trying to, I want more, and so they would go and do their own imaginative thing, and and I think that that kind of atmosphere would bolster the community as a whole. Um, and I just like the idea of independent, small people making cool things as opposed to everybody having to eat at the trough of giant mega corp. And but it does satisfy my itch to go. Is it really that hard, or are you just presenting an argument to look like you have all this Siskel and Ebert type of experience? So it calls their bluff, and but that's just minor comparative. So sorry,
Yeah.
she gets mad when I bring that up, but um,
I get a little weary of the fights with invisible people who are not here. That's all.
well, anyway, but making those kinds of things are pretty neat. Um, Now, without being critical on anybody specific, there's some stuff that for a while there was a lot of artsy fartsy stuff that was. That's what my
Did you
mom would
just
call it.
say? Did you just say artsy fartsy on my
Artsy
arts
fart.
and crafty?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
Well, like for example, there'd just be like, here's a D10. It was like a cozy.
Uh-huh.
I don't need to spend $5 for you to craft out, saw out, and bevel a 4 inch by 3 inch piece of wood that could have gone to a much better cause other than for you to hack out a gouge out of it so I can rest my 10 cider on it. And you want to charge me big bucks because there was labor involved with that. That's the kind of stuff to me where it's just like, now you're just making shit to make shit.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times I went to some Gen Cons where there was big booths filled with stuff where it was so trite and this is kind of going too far. Um, and I don't know if it became a glut that kind of killed, when there's a flood of too much of that sort of stuff, people, they kind of kill it off because uh, it seemed to wane after that. And but I'd love to see it come back. But you have to have some practicality to it. You know, not everybody's got enough discretional income that they'll just slap down everything because it looks half-assed and cool. I know people like that. There's a guy I played D&D with, and God love him. He earned his money. He works hard. I hate the rich people type of thing, but he says himself, he goes, I didn't really need this, but it looked cool, so I splatted it down $50 for it or something like that. And to me, now you've got a shelf of stuff that makes you, might earn you nerd cred, but you've just got a bunch of stuff that you're trying to figure out where the hell to put it, and you know, buy stuff that's useful, make
Right.
stuff that's useful. And not to say that a decoration or something. There was people that were making, D20 earrings or something like that. Great. If that's something you want to wear, that's as useful to people who enjoy wearing earrings as an abacus. Um, but but like I say, sometimes here's this big chunk of wood just so you can set your D10 in it. What? So I can why isn't the table that I'm sitting at good enough to, why do I need a special place to rest my die and pay you $8 for that special place? That just seemed like it was, it was somebody stretching, but whatever. Um, Magenta, anything else?
Well, no, I think that kind of distracted me sufficiently from thinking of anything else right now.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So,
But yeah, look, he's John Travolta now.
that's, yeah. Oh, staying alive, staying alive. So I also like, again, not really arts and crafts, so I don't know if it would work in this channel. It might be better off be talked about other channels. But there's a lot of computerized accessory or computerized assisted stuff without with it's
Phone app stuff. I could see
yeah,
apps being so. Once upon a time,
not
back
really
when these
art though.
things, well, okay, um, but back in the day, I remember that, people talked about using, in fact, it's even on the Big Bang Theory, I think, using computers to assist you with your gaming and stuff like that, right? But the hard part is you got to lug a big old desktop when they started. I mean, they were big too. The monitors were big, everything was big, all the cables, all that. Yeah, I know you used to do that. Yes.
No, no, no,
But
no, no, no,
you,
no,
what?
no. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt, but I
Okay.
do. I do have an. I do have. Go ahead.
You have a
Sorry.
story. Okay, you can do your personal
Sorry.
story later.
Okay.
It's
Well, no. I
okay.
just it's a
Don't get
counter
into
argument. It's a
your,
counter argument. It's a counter.
but listen to what I'm saying though
Okay.
first.
Sorry.
All
All
of
right.
it. Because okay. Um so
Yeah.
now that's not, there's no, everything that would fit on your computer back then will fit on your phone in an app, and you can have dozens of apps. You could have one that keeps track of your characters. You could have everything if you wanted it, and I don't know why it's not already done, but go ahead.
Um, so that was what I was talking about earlier, where people go, well, here, oh, this is too. There's too much chart reading in this game. Okay. Well, I used to think that too, so I started using my computer in support. Well, they're huge. Like, I had somebody give that argument to me, but it was like 1996.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Now, folks, the first laptop I ever saw was it was a Tandy 600, and my dad
Oh,
bought one, and it was 11 pounds, which is hefty. It was 1980, and he bought it at 11 pounds. But even as a kid at that age, I could pick up 11 pounds, and it had a briefcase and everything that came with it. And I carried that to every table from 1980 on. And then when it was obsolete and I couldn't keep my dad from discarding it, even though it worked perfectly and probably would still work perfectly today, we went to the 1100 age and on and on and on. But the Tandy 1100 laptop and used that. So the I can't carry my desktop to the thing. All right, if you don't have a laptop,
But you don't
fine.
have to.
Well,
Don't say,
I'm what I'm saying is that it was one of those things that somebody used as a way to say, instead of saying I don't want to do it or I don't like that, they would give you this counter thing where it was, well, here's an excuse as to why. Why
yeah.
not just say, and sorry if it's kind of the nerdy actually response, but actually you always had a laptop, that you could bring to the thing, and it worked great, and it really did facilitate games a lot. I mean, it really
Well,
helped.
if you
Really
need
helped.
spreadsheets, if you need things like that, you get there's apps you can get Excel on your phone. You could do Google
Well,
Sheets. You
right.
could do all that
Now
stuff.
you
So
don't
there's
have
no,
any right excuse for say. I mean, if you don't want to, you don't want to. But it's when the people come up with these kind of bad arguments. It's like, why are you just sorry? Why not just say you don't like it? Because yeah, now you can have, like she says, everything in a bag of chips inside something that you can put in your pocket.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and so anyway, but yeah, I don't know if it's art, but I do like the idea of bringing some of those back and using them. And it was really neat the other day. Somebody who was I've been trying to get people to play a Star Trek um, game, fastest Star Trek,
ah, Star
and
Trek. Yes, now we're
yeah,
talking.
right. And there's an individual who has gone through his archives. He's got, I don't know if he's moving or what the deal is, but he had a lot of stuff in storage, and he says some of the stuff I haven't looked at in literally decades. So it was kind of neat to go through the old treasure trove, and it's fun to watch that sort of stuff. The other day he pulled out his old fastest Star Trek, and he goes, "Look what we did," and he had dot matrix printed um, handouts for the players. All the characters were done on old dot matrix printers, and that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. Again, the money thing. I wasn't UNICEF commercial poor. We weren't starving, but instead of spending $8 on a, a booklet of character sheets, um, what I would do is I would use a forms designer program for my Tandy 600, which later also was made for a Tandy desktop. But I'd use those and a dot matrix printer, and I could roll off as many characters I wanted. And a ream of paper wasn't necessarily cheap, but it was a few more pages than 10, and I could make as many as I wanted real quick. It was great. It made things cheaper and faster and more legible and easy to just make character sheets using that computer. And again, if I had the laptop and I was going somewhere I was at, and had a reason to need to make one up quickly, bingo, bango, bongo, done.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think that I'd like to see more of that, and I'd like to present more of that out there. And the funny thing is it always existed. But again, the same thing happened where people started saying, if you need a computer to assist you playing this game, it must be too hard to play and it won't be any fun. No, man, I don't, um, just because I use an impact wrench versus a tire iron doesn't mean that the wheel is more complicated or more difficult. I just don't feel like sweating today, and I happen to have an impact wrench. So I'm going to change the tire with the impact wrench. You know, why not? Does
Hmm.
that make sense? Is that an
Sure.
analogy? Okay.
I mean, use. Use the tool that makes the job the easiest and most efficient,
Right.
or in this case, the most fun. I will tell you the reason the number line kind of appeals to me is because of certain games where the action of the game over time has become associated with fun. Moving a token on a board activates something I think that has been lying dormant in all of us who played board games since we were little, right? That, oh, it's my turn. I get to move my piece.
Hmm.
And whether or not it's strictly necessary for you to be able to keep count of, what kind of advantages or disadvantages or modifiers are applying to your character is less important than it feels fun to do. It it's associated with good physical memories, and I don't know. I just think it would be a better way to do it than just, pad a pen and paper or even a dry erase board where you write down your current stats or and update them and erase them, whatever, um, or a digital way. But to each his own. But I still like moving a token from one space to another. It makes me feel like I'm going somewhere.
Hmm.
I don't
Right.
know.
Right. Yep. Yep. So, but yeah. So that's kind of the stuff I do. She's, like I say, would love to see more miniature. The other thing about the miniature stuff, it's fun to paint, and I hope to see more. But you know, nobody's made out of money these days. And how many of these things that she can buy and
Oh
store
yeah.
or hide from the cat, who, that's up to
What
her. But
what are you doing, Kitty?
it'd be neat to
Did
see.
uh, Yeah, I'll do some of that. Well, when I do the painting, I have to make sure the baby's not in the room. Um, Baby is the name of my cat, by the way. She's also quite fond of needle felting. I have made her a couple of pretty realistic mice, um, which she likes to bat around.
Hmm. Hmm. So we do want to, you know,
Okay, Katie.
emphasize what Magenta's doing and show you what we can do,
Yeah.
and they want to see what you can do.
Yes.
Send us our stuff. Come on, maybe we can. But this is just starting out. So in lieu of that, because we've got to, get people on and get their attention, so to speak.
Right.
Uh, here's some. I'm looking at something 35 game-winning Dungeons and Dragons accessories guaranteed to make your next campaign even more epic. Um, One of the things I'd love to be able to do. I'm not in a position. This isn't even necessarily about money, but I'm just not in a position logistically because I'm living in somebody else's apartment for a while because, again, the money thing. But I've seen people do it. I eventually would love to do it. Is make your own ultimate gaming table with a little help from, um, well, here the person's selling the plans, but I don't really think I need to buy the plans. I think I could get somebody that was, it's.
Kitty.
I don't want to sound too old or crotchety. It's one thing to monetize your imagination, but anyway, point is that a digital tabletop made out of an old TV is a lot of cool. Pretty cool. Um, and I've seen people do that, and it's real neat. Um,
Okay. I have to take a kitty cat break right now. So
we want to wrap this
we're
one
gonna.
up and try again later.
Well,
And
no, I just have to get her off of the. She was just in the way. So yeah, she's
I'll
gonna
just keep
snuggle.
going through these while you're doing that.
Yeah, do that. I'm just gonna snuggle with her for a minute because she's gonna walk all over everything right now.
Um, Here's people showing custom game master screens. Again, I have this in my
What?
paracosmic convergence. How to make a custom game master screen. How to make it cheap, but yet something that's usable. I've seen some really cool stuff coming along, but again, how do you do? I don't want to sound critical, but sometimes some of the stuff is over engineered and it becomes a little bit too much. Um, but there's certainly some really neat ones. This particular your dungeon master will feel like a true lord of the game when they start. This trifold scream is crafted from wood with a
Can
place
you
to.
show us an image of it?
I think so. I think so.
Something that's not going to share personal information, of course.
No,
Nothing
no,
much
no,
to
no. This
ask you
is
that. Yeah.
yeah. These are products. They're not our products. It's just something I quick looked up just to look at see what's going on with other people and get some ideas and some examples. Can you hear that kitty screeching?
Is she screech? Is she really loud?
She's loud enough that she's picked up by the. So I don't. So this one, I mean, I don't know how loud that is. It's probably not that big. This one, like I say, this is
Oh, that's cool.
this is a big chunk of chocolate, and um, I don't know. It looks like this is magnetic, perhaps. I don't know. Let's just
There's
read
a
this.
magnetic strip at the top where the little pieces are.
Trifold screen is crafted from wood with a place to prop up their tablet to track stories, cool interactive spinners to keep track of character statuses, and two transparent windows for maps and character papers. That's pretty cool.
Cool. That
That's
is cool.
very, you know, um, D&D Tavern Rules Drinking Game Guide. Did you know that Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, we know about the drinking game. Um, it's nothing official. It's not an official product. It never was, but there was people that made up a drinking game. If you've never been to Gen Con back in the days of Milwaukee, there was a lot of that, and we here in Wisconsin enjoy knocking them back. It's been in the 80s when things were different and there was a different outlook on that sort of stuff. I'm not saying everybody was a raging alcoholic or stupidly drunk, but there were some parties and people came up with a drinking game. So apparently this has. Let's see. Did you know to bring this guy to your tavern? I don't see. It's hard to see what. Oh, I can't get a picture of that one. Anyway, interesting, but really not facilitating the game. But there again, sometimes not everything has to be about playing the game or
Well,
mechanics.
just
There's fun stuff. I got nothing wrong with no problem with just fun stuff that's adjacent. Um, so yeah, as here's something real simple and easy. Um, As a dungeon master, there's a lot to remember. It's impossible for even the best DMs to remember it all. This cheat sheet makes it a lot easier. It can be copied endlessly and used in game after game to help keep track of damage skills, improvising, and more. I don't know what version this is for. It's got. Okay, here's a picture of it. I think I can get you to see the picture on this one. Let's change the share. Here we go.
oh, she's cute. Oh, another screen join.
Whoops.
How many screens do you need? There we go.
There it is. Yep. So that's a little cheat sheet. Kind of thing that you could, paste into a custom DM screen or something like that.
Okay,
Pretty neat.
that is neat.
We'll do a couple. They got 35. We ain't gonna do them all. Let's just take a couple looks at the other ones that might look like they're easy to do. Now here again, everybody's entitled to make what they want and share what they want. And if you find this sort of thing interesting or useful, good for you. But sometimes, okay, a Dungeons and Dragons campaign journal, folks, a
I got a journal.
stenopad. Yeah, you don't need a custom made, you know, that okay, so here it is. It's got a nice leather bound. This one doesn't have a picture that I can share, but it's got a nice leather bound or imitation leather bound wrapping. So it looks all neat. But at the end of the day, a steno, you know,
It's,
you really don't need anything more than just a pile of paper. It seems like it would be overkill to pay top dollar for something that just ends up being the same pad of paper that any stamp pad would be at the end of the day. So, but whatever you want to do. Here's one that something that Magenta's talked about trying to make, and here's an example. So you might find this interesting if you can ever put down your cat.
Hey, look at the screen.
Okay. So here's a condition tracker. She's discussed this several times.
Hey, look, are you able to see my screen?
Oh, that's very nice. That is the kind of that's exactly what the thing that I couldn't get the picture looks like. Exactly like that. So there's somebody who paid top dollar for what you could just get
It
at
was
Walgreens
not
for cheap.
top dollar. It was like $5.99 or something.
Oh
But
well,
I
this one
thought it
that
was
they were
really
selling
nice.
was 25 bucks, and I'm like, man, I
Yeah,
can just
no,
get a
I would
steno for
not.
3 or 4. You know?
No, I think I paid like $5.99 for this. Um, I just like the Celtic and
Yeah,
Celtic
sure, and that's
styling,
what
and
people are all about.
it's kind
Yeah,
of cool. It
yeah.
just, I haven't written anything in it yet. I'm saving it for an adventure of its own, and then
I've
I'll
never
keep
I've
track of
never
it.
taken my head out of the idea that I need to find the cheapest route to the destination. Uh,
Sometimes I just like to write with pen and paper. It's
yeah,
just because I like the way, I don't know. And
it looks great.
also to have
I'm just a kraut.
something.
I'm cheap.
Okay. Okay. Okay then.
But no,
Here, let me show you.
it's nice to have something like that. It's good to have at the table.
Oh yeah.
Uh huh. And I know what you're saying about just sometimes sitting down and turning like the computer just isn't the place to be imaginative sometimes. So
Sometimes, yes.
yeah. So but this is a neat little thing. The party tracker. What do you think?
I
Track
like that.
track hit points and whatever conditions are on people and stuff like that. That's very helpful.
Hmm.
Very helpful. Okay. Let's just okay. Let me try to scroll past a few here. Um,
Sorry if my movements were making anyone dizzy. I should have warned everyone first.
you just bought a fantasy mapping book for DMs
I did.
called Drawing Worlds by Wesley Jones because this might be it.
I don't know if that's the name of it. I can't remember where I put it now.
Well, here I'm going to put a picture so maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, that's it. Is this it?
Let me see. Yes, that is it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I gave it to my mom because she's going to be doing some drawing, so I thought it might help her.
Says half the fun of being a dungeon master is coming up with cool places for your campaigners to explore. Yes, when the imagination well starts to run a little dry, this fantasy mapping book can help. It'll stoke the creative fires and offers tips and tricks on how to make an unforgettable world. Cool.
Yes.
Um,
We can kind of go through that if you like. Maybe that one might be a nice joint project too for, our viewers
we
as well.
we have done uh, world building in the past, and it was extremely
Fun. I
fun.
enjoyed
It
it.
was very popular. We had other people helping us, and we've always said we want to do it again.
Yes.
Uh, bum. Here's another one of these tracker things. Boy, this is so. And here's the thing. There's some people. Here's another one. I had a guy say to me, and what do you say? I said, why? I still will never, after all these decades, the aversion to computer assisted systems. And I heard that. She's groaning like, oh God, here we go again.
Well, okay, go ahead.
And he said, what was his thing? Oh, I spend all day in front of a computer at work.
Hmm.
I was conversing with him on Twitter, where he had lots of posts. So I just kind of like, well, you're in front of a computer right now. I never really understood. So,
That is
but
a bit ironic.
yeah, I just that kind of stuff. I'm like, why is that? People do that. But whatever, if that's the way you want to be, unfortunately, this picture is not available. But this is a D&D custom class tracker dashboard. This is kind of the thing like I was talking about with the dashboard with the overall and biplanes. It says think of this as your dashboard for Dungeons and Dragons. The wood set um, was custom created by a D&D player for D&D players to show off all the things associated with your character. The board can be labeled to show off your favorite class of character, like rogue or cleric. It has dials, wooden dials, and it has markers. They look like metal balls. These are a little bit over-engineered, but point is that it serves similar.
I gotta say, if your balls are made of metal, you are over engineered.
That's right.
Sorry.
Um, but it serves the same the same purpose as a lot of the kind of apps that we're talking about. But for somebody who's like this dude who goes, after work I need to unplug from a computer. Okay, well this is analog, baby, but it still is a way to um, more interesting
Automate your,
automate without
yeah.
having to write things down and all that sort of stuff. It still serves the purpose, and it's not a screen. So if you're into manual, there you go. Uh,
I've always liked that kind of stuff too because it kind of feels like you're setting up your environment. You're preparing yourself for the game. The process of like going through and setting your tokens in the right place and doing that kind of stuff um, appeals to me.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
what the cat did. Okay, this is a craft and a starter painting kit I got, and this is my one pet peeve with it. It
What's that?
was it came with now why would you like partially create these? They're not all the way finished. See how this is, it's like supposed to fit in there? And I'm going to
Yeah,
have to get some like glue to make it stick, which at first you were supposed to just like the paint was supposed to make it stick.
yeah.
But my cat had other ideas. So while the painting is good, it didn't. I mean, why wouldn't you just put his arm on to begin with? What the heck?
Right, right.
It
It's
seems like this guy. He came from a different D&D adventure set for miniatures. Everything was already built on him. I didn't have to give him his hammer or anything like that. He was ready to go.
mhm.
But this guy was built except for one arm with the flame coming out of it. Why? And the dwarf, he lost his hammer, so he's ready for an episode of Norse mythology. But you know, he's not Thor. He's not going to the land of the giants to win his hammer back.
Right. That, that miniatures, I never got into the, lauding brand names or any of that stuff at first until I started buying miniatures. And there's an example of it. And frankly, sometimes electronics are the same way. My dad was fond of saying over the years, what does it matter? It's all coming from the Pacific Rim, and there is a difference between this computer built in Malaysia or wherever. I'm just pulling names out of a hat. And this computer built in Taiwan because, and it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. No, it's not. And that miniature is you know
Do you
the
know? Do you want to hear though?
not built right.
This is the thing. This one costs more than this one.
Right, and that's there you go. But yet, nonetheless, somebody got away with charging more for less quality or
Yeah.
bad design. So it's not your
Oh, they
fault, but
probably put the greater portion of their money into advertising, and it was
mhm.
effective because I bought those first before I discovered these.
So here's a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, that's a good. That's just sorry. Do I? Are you
No,
okay?
that's cool. That's cool. I didn't know what that was at first, and then I was like, oh,
Just for fun, I'm not. I wouldn't be a fan of using this in a game as far as for dice, but that's up to you. I'm just a weirdo like that. But this is just funny. It's 80s thematic. Everybody from the 80s remembers the Magic 8 Ball. I'm
They're
sure.
still
Yeah,
around.
yeah. You're right. And this is just, it's just kind of funny. Kind of, to me, this combines two iconic 80s things together in just a fun way.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just that. It's just stuff for to be cool. These I've seen. In fact, we saw them on Tabletop Simulator, and it was super neat. And now you see them in real life. There are these. Magenta and I saw these when we were messing around on a really cool Tabletop Simulator D&D setup. Um, Here you go. Can you see that?
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
The initiative tracker. It's
Yeah.
very, very similar to the one we saw at the.
I'm assuming you can write names and dry erase on those tabs or
Let's see. Keep track of rolls for initiative on these unique trackers. There are a dozen spots for you to track things. The tracker can be personalized with your choice of class. It looks to me like it has, like you can slip paper or something in there
oh, okay. That's cool.
for markers. Yeah,
Yeah, so you can
doesn't
have
specify.
names on them or
hmm hmm
whatever.
Here's another one that Magenta, 20 years ago, she was talking about this with a game. And another thing that we've also seen subsequently after that conversation on Tabletop Simulator. And that is, here you go,
Oh yeah.
condition rings. Now, here's the funny thing about this sort of stuff. It's great. I got no problem with it. It looks like it's made with some sort of rubberish plastic or whatever, and that's great. They'll last long. They're easy. They're probably cheap and all that. No problem. And again, not being critical of anybody, just kind of interesting that you'll. What I've seen a lot is this is the first time I ever saw anybody doing something like this. It was a book that was printed in the late 1950s. Tony Bath used to do this sort of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so did, and if you're a real D&D historian, you might recognize the name because he is, he's got
Oh,
his
have we
place in.
gotten oh my gosh, you just made me feel instantly ancient. There's
Well,
D&D historians now?
yeah, yeah. Well,
Oh
we
my
did a
god.
big thing on Tony Bath and his connection to D&D and all that. A big
Yeah,
video.
are we D&D historians then?
We're D&D relics, dude. We've been doing it for so.
Well, speak for
Uh,
yourself. I never actually got to play. I was just always like
well, good point.
D&D thwarted.
Right, yeah. But I've been doing it since '78 or whatever. So but it's one of these things where people go, "Wow, that's cool. I never thought of that," or "It's amazing that somebody came up with this," and they'll attribute the person who presents it as the person who conceived of it, and I'll be like, "Bro, no, they were doing this over 50 years ago with war
Um,
games back, I think the book was 1957 and they were using now they were wood but and painted, but it's not a new thing, and it's just interesting to me to see the cycle where somebody's so, again, they're not ignorant or anything like that. I don't want to be about ageism or anything like that, but how they just, this stuff kind of boomerangs. It's kind of neat.
everything old
So
becomes new
yeah,
again.
right, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, So and here's another one where it's just a cute reference. Um, and this is the kind of thing you'd see at the what I would call the artsy fartsy tables at Gen Con and stuff like that. And I got no beef with it. Um,
Well, you keep saying you got no beef. Was there a possibility
Check it
you
out. Well, some people just the only beef I had is that some of it went too far and they became
Yeah.
a little bit of a glut. But this is kind of neat. It's just a bag, but it's a bag of holding.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Yeah, let me see. Wait, wait, let me
just
show it. There you go.
yeah, cool.
The whole idea of a bag of holding that, like, you know, is an actual bag that you keep little tokens in for, like,
Right.
that's a cool idea. I can see that being useful.
Here's a whole nother version of the wooden. We've seen several of them, so I won't share it. But it's just another version of the wooden tracker set, which I think is super cool. People really are. It's neat to see this because I always, again, not to be too repetitious, but the people who seem to just be making excuses about avoiding computers. Okay, fine. If you're really so set on unplugging, but you could still, with this kind of creativity and these wooden things, um, get that automation and that record keeping that we're talking about, even if it means you don't have to use your phone or whatever. So that's pretty cool. Um,
Mhm.
I'm skipping some because every time I talk about something moderately controversial, I can hear the noises coming out of Magenta.
I don't hide my reactions very well, do I? Okay.
I kind of do want to bring it up because it's something we're going to bring. We are
Okay.
going to do the thing on encumbrance, so I kind of do want to bring it up. Well, maybe we'll do it later. So maybe
I'll
we'll
do
make it
it if
part of
you
that.
want to. You
Okay,
can.
all right. Here we go. So, oh, this is not, a lot of these are dead links, so this must be an old article. But uh, a D&D inventory notepad that uses slots. I want to find something that can allow people to use encumbrance. Slots are a way to avoid encumbrance and say you're still using it in a supposedly new and innovative way. But the point wasn't here's how much you can carry, no less or no more. The point was here's the point where you no longer can function because you've loaded yourself down too far.
Right. You can't be agile in a fight. You can't run away as fast. You can't
Right, right,
defend yourself, maybe even.
right. And it's just, can you can think of running with a football? You can put it under your arm. You can still run like the Dickens if you're able to run. I'm not able to run very fast, but you can run like the Dickens. And I don't know what the rules are about stiff arming these days, but back in the day, you could, stiff arm and all that. So you could still, put up a scrap, fight your way through some things, and, you know, but if you were carrying a mattress, it may not be heavy, but it tends to be cumbersome to maneuver. If anybody, I think we've all probably moved out of a home or two, and how that works with the bed mattresses. So that's what it was supposed to do, is show that an inventory that has slots. All that does is give you busy work that you feel like, well, I've avoided something that is complex or tedious by doing something that's a busy work that really won't have very much. All it does is say you can't carry that many swords. You could just say that,
Yeah.
instead of going through filling out this notepad filled with here's all the little slots I filled out, because what you were talking about was I just found all this gold. Do I have the time and the energy to remove it all before something nasty comes back to the layer or whatever it was? It wasn't about any of the other things in there. So encumbrance and a lot of the rules that get nerfed by people because they were too cumbersome. That's the term they use. Sometimes I think it's because, like Magenta said earlier, because you can't get that rich if you do it that way.
Yeah.
But it really, the best analogy for encumbrance and all that, it really is something like moving out of your apartment.
Mhm.
If you you know it, especially if you're somewhere where you have a long walk to the truck or whatever you're moving in, it, no matter how strong you are, persistent movement of heavy stuff requires time. You have to think it out to a little bit. It, no matter how strong you are, you get tired like every other human on the planet, and there's a time crunch. And all of that was what that was about. And that was supposed to be the logistical chain that kept everybody from saying, oh, I killed this super rich vampire. Now I'm stinking rich because, that wasn't the point there. So when I see somebody selling a notepad about slots, I go, you're perpetuating a. I'm not a rules lawyer. I don't try to shove certain things down people's throats, but that particular one missed me because it really is.
Kind of reminds me of one of the pet peeves I have of Baldur's Gate when we play that is they have encumbrance. I mean, it's a part of the game. Um, but you can carry a big old bucket, like a huge bucket, times like 2 or 3 if that's all you had in your bag, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it's like the size of that thing, the unwieldiness of it. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's empty, it's a bucket, it probably doesn't weigh that much, which you would think, well, that's why you can carry it, but
What are you gonna do? Put it in your
it's
pocket?
huge. Right,
Yeah.
yeah, how is it not gonna get in your way? It's like 3 feet across or something as a wash bucket, you
Or
know?
those giant 55-gallon oil drums that you can bring to battles to blow.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. That's just
I
it's
mean,
not
it's
just about
cool
you
that
being
you
able to lift
can
it up.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and then my character's walking around still sashaying with that little,
Yeah, looking all sexy and all that. And you got three of those things in
attracting
your bag.
bears.
Yeah, yeah. That thing's big enough I could sit on one. And all of a sudden I've got it in my backpack, or two or three of them while I'm walking around. It just becomes ludicrous. And that's why, yeah, I do the thing. So here's a couple of really neat ones, um, I think. The dice bag was the big deal back in the 80s. People were selling the leather drawstring dice bags.
Oh
But this
yeah.
is pretty cool. Um, now, well, that doesn't matter. Sometimes. Here we go. Check this out.
I'm poking his butt.
Check it out. You
Eh,
take a look at this on the screen.
oh yeah. That's
It's a
wow,
dagger and a sheath, and inside the daggers, you set all your. That's how you carry your. your.
not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I like that one. Now here's another cool one. Um, it's a spell tracker. Share. Where did that go? Okay, here. Check this out.
Nice.
Don't even try to get. Here's the explanation. To track spells by brain, use something totally on brand for D&D and totally cool with a spell tracker. Toss a tiny ring over the peg that represents a spell, and you'll uh, be set to go for easy reference. And it looks like a scroll.
Right. That's
That's the
cool.
kind of thematic stuff I'm talking about. It looks really perfect. Yeah, yeah, that's great. So,
Well, yeah, art does set the mood. It makes it I think a lot of people who are attracted to Dungeon and Dragons are creative to begin with.
hmm,
So art is kind of part of that mix, right?
hmm, hmm, yep, yep. I think you're right.
Can you I don't know if
Oh,
you guys can see the I'm going to move that up a little bit so I can get an angle in there and I don't stab myself. That is the hazard of this craft. Man, if you're like trying to do some detail work and you really need to like carve into something thick with the needle, but you hold it wrong and you stab right through. And then that's a ow. At least
hmm,
at least once in every piece I make, I leave a drop of blood somewhere on the project. So, like, my DNA signature is on every piece. Do, do,
So a lot of this other
do.
stuff, like I say, whatever goes, whatever you want. A dungeon master beer stein, okay, that's cool. If you were having a big party and you had a lot of money, because some of this stuff is expensive, um, but you really wanted to do it up good, there's D&D class dice holder coasters.
Oh,
Declare
yeah.
your class and keep your table safe from water rings with a cool coaster designed for dice. The wood coasters are handmade with care and carved to show off the class you're choosing. There's a divoted compartment at the bottom to hold your dice when not in use. Here's the thing. That's cool. I but you're going to tip that drink over trying to pluck that die out of that trench.
Oh, yeah.
Something. Um, so candles. I'm not interested in candles per se, but whatever. There's people that do all sorts of those fancy things. Cure light wounds. It looks like a cure light wounds um, medical kit or something, and it's supposed to be thematic and all that sort of stuff, which is fine. But if you had that, get the coasters, the beer steins, the candles in the on the table, really have a themed out party, that would be pretty neat. But anyway, um,
Bob got a job, just attacked the cat.
there you go. Got to fight back, Bob.
Well, she was
So
coming for his job,
that's right.
of course,
So
because, she's a cat.
there's a dice catapult. Now that's funny once. After that, you're just chasing dice. It's a rubber band powered
Oh, yeah.
catapult. That's going too far. Not the concept isn't going too far. You have fun with it if you want, but I'm telling you, when you pop that thing off, that dice is going to go farther than you want it to go, and you'll be chasing it all over the place. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, just buy those little rollers you can put on your furniture first,
Right,
so you
right,
can roll the TV stand out of the way and, whatever.
right.
If you don't have your TV on your wall, like most normal people these days. I have my TV on the wall. Well, my brother keeps pulling it away from the wall, which drives me crazy because then I have to walk through there and I'm like, I can't see it at that angle. It works for you, but I'm short and I can't reach up there to readjust it. And it's all messed up. So
Hmm. Hmm.
it's like, fix it. And then he's all like, why are you bothering me? And I'm like, because you left it messed up. Hmm. Okay. Mr.
So,
Easter Island here. Bob got a job. I can't believe my grandson's like, what's his first name? Bob. Okay, superhero Bob. What's his last name then? Got a job. Okay. I wonder if somebody's been telling him to get a job. I mean, he is 5. He'll be ready to pick vegetables soon. Ooh.
all right. Well, I think I've hit everything that is interesting there.
Yeah, I think you have. So, this isn't really my first stream on my own platform with my own channel. So, anyone who's found me here, appreciate you. And, please like, share, and subscribe if you feel motivated and help me out. Um, we'll keep doing this. And oh my gosh, Kitty, quit. This is not an OnlyFans site. Stop.
She's twerking it in the camera. I'll get you some more views. Check this out.
We're gonna have to have a modesty filter for that cat. She's a good cat, though. I got to. Got to give her credit. She's a good kitty.
All righty. Well, what else? I hope I didn't dominate too hard with the talking of the talking, but I don't know.
No, you did great. And next time I do this, I'm going to have a more specific project laid out first. I just wanted to get on the board, so to speak, so that I
Yeah.
can get started, make sure everything worked right. We did have some technical difficulties to begin with, so it's a good thing I did that. But um,
We did 20 minutes of streaming to nowhere, to oblivion.
yes, which ended in the most hilarious laughter ever.
I just all of a sudden I realized, are we? What is this thing on? And it wasn't on where we thought it was on, but it kept saying live, and I'm like, well, where the hell is the live going if it's not going to the YouTube?
I was laughing so hard. Where are we streaming to
We're
exactly?
streaming to the netherworld or something. Uh,
Funny.
so, um, but yeah, we'll do this one, and of course, look for our other channel that we've done on and off in spurts and fits, and
Right.
we. I don't know what I don't take this the wrong way. We've been doing it a long time, but we're still new at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes it. That's not a bad. That's not putting us down too hard, is it? But you know what I mean. It takes a
Yes.
while to, and it's. It,
Yes, it is.
is it really? I don't mean it to be. It's just that
No, it's
it's it.
okay.
It's that there's a couple of things. Um, it's a shifting sands of what they're looking for in an algorithm, and we're not here to chase an algorithm per se, but we want a conversation more than winning some social media. But if you don't do something to satisfy the algorithm, you don't get the people to have the conversation with.
Right.
Right? So you got
True.
to figure that out. Plus, then there's the well, this month it's going to cost a nice, reasonable amount of money to do this with, as far as the software. But next month they've changed their pricing structure, and all of a sudden I got to worry, or Magenta's got to worry about, do I get eggs and bread or do I stream? I mean,
Right.
not that they're that expensive, but every effing thing else on the planet is too. So then you got to change that around, and yeah, so it's a big deal. So it's not as simple as just okay, flip on the screen and get better and talk and stuff. There's all sorts of hurdles to jump over and stuff like that. So
Phone cleaner now.
we're going. we're
This looks kind of like a cloud, which initially I was going to change this to like make it a like a hill or something for characters to be sitting on and put some grass. But I'm kind of thinking I might leave it cloud like, and it'll be like because Bob got a job can fly, so
oh
it's
yeah,
kind of like his. This is how he floats around when he's just chilling.
he's sitting on cloud nine because he's got a
That's
job.
right. This is his. That's right. But Nathaniel should have been more specific with the name. He should have made him Bob got a good job because just having a job is not enough.
Right.
You gotta have a good one.
So, well, yeah, like she says, we'll do more. We're going to do more on the other campaigns and conquest main channel. We're doing a Star Wars thing, which maybe I got to get
Yes.
back into that because I got a guy going, "Hey, are we still doing this?" I got to. I'm doing it, yes, but I have um, familial commitments. I have people that I have to take care of that are in my family that are
Elder care is
yeah,
a
right.
responsibility a lot of us are going to be, are faced with, and unfortunately, the support systems that we should have are not there for us. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully, that's something that will not be a permanent condition for all of us, and we'll have some, I don't know, humanity back in our humankind.
So here's the little counters you were talking about, right?
Yes, yes. Oh
Um,
yeah, those would be great.
mhm. Yep. So we'll be doing the Star Wars. We hope more people play. It's a lot of fun. It's play by post and it's real time if or a real session if you want to do that as well. Um, Things we have planned for on the other channel is a large immersion and styles of play and stuff like that. Kind of a 10-part thing on how to um, maintain immersion while you're playing a role-playing game. Another
I
thing
always
we're
like to go, what are your stats? That's how I
right, that
maintain
kind of thing. So, deeper, but as an example, right, don't talk about your plus one sword while you're in conversation with other characters. That breaks immersion, that kind of thing, and much deeper looks into it with some examples and some role playing that we're going to go through is kind of a just kind of show you how it does. We're going through some things. The other thing that we're working on or going to do real soon is history of wargaming and RPG. It's not as the chasm that's been created and the perception of this different. It's not that different. So we're going to show you how it all kind of stems out of the same thing. We're going to talk about um, some famous war gamers and the history and stuff like that. So it'll be
it.
a series too.
I hate to tell you this, but you're interrupting baby.
Interrupting
You
what?
baby. Didn't you hear she's talking?
Oh yeah,
Listen,
right. But anyway, so we're gonna do that, and
sorry.
who knows what else? Maybe we'll start doing some gaming. We were doing some gaming the other night on it. In fact, maybe we'll do that right
Yeah.
now. You want to do some gaming?
Oh, I would love to do some gaming, but
Cool.
should we start a new
Yeah, yeah,
probably a new session? Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be like, ooh, do I want to watch 4 hours of
right.
needle felting? Most
Good
people
point.
would probably say no.
That's correct.
But next time we do this, Bob got a job is going to get dressed because it's really not polite for him to be naked
He
through the
can
whole
afford
thing.
some new threads because he's got a
He,
job.
he's right, he does, and he needs a work wardrobe.
That's right. All right,
Oh,
so look for us. We'll be back in a few minutes with a game to play, right?
yes, we sure will. So, um,
What game is it?
think. Do you want to do Lotro?
If that's what you want to do, or one of my little play testing, little paracosmic convergence thing, whatever, or whatever. You tell me. You
Oh,
tell the fine folks what we're going to play. I'll leave it up to you. Mr.
oh,
Sulu, you have the con.
okay. Well, do you have a game already like set up somewhere that
Mm-hmm.
you do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, who am I going to be playing with?
Well, I was thinking that maybe now again I don't have a way to guarantee this, but I was thinking that maybe we might get Tony back to play one, but
Oh, I would love that. So I tell you what, how about we're going to end this stream here, and then we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a break, bio break, get something to drink, eat, that kind of stuff, and then you can see if Tony will join us. And then I would love to do a play test with Tony.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So everyone who joined us, if there was anyone, I can't tell because I can't see stats yet, but
Plus, it
he
lies like a rug.
does kind of do that, yeah. But anyway, if you were here and you enjoyed what you saw, please do leave a comment. Let me know. If you have constructive criticism, that's also welcome. Thanks again for taking the time and hope you have a great day.
Alrighty. See you later.